Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to get started on the first of my two Denon flagship tape decks and see what this DR-F3 is all about. But before we do that, I bought something crazy while I was still in Calgary and I think you guys might want to see it. So let me pick you all up here and we'll just swivel around over to this thing over here. Excuse the puzzles. They're my Christmas puzzles I didn't get around to doing. But yeah, I was kind of sitting there at the hotel room in Calgary, and suddenly the crazy part of my brain spoke up and said, "You're supposed to be this crazy cassette deck collector, and you don't have a Dolby S machine yet." And that's the machine right there that I bought while I was still thinking those thoughts in my head. I decided while I was lying there in the hotel bed, I would grab the laptop and see what I could find, and that thing turned up. There will be more on that shortly. I'm expecting belts for that, and then we'll get right into that deck, I think, because it's in really, really nice shape. Paid $245 for that one. So can't wait to show that to you on the channel. I had it shipped the fast way too, because the UPS shipping quote was not that much higher than the Japan Post quote for going the slow way. So I figured, let's just get it here and have fun with it. So the Denon DR-F3. I will tell you right now that this is only known as the DR-F3 in Japan. That's their model number scheme only. This was available outside Japan. In the rest of the world, it's known as the DR-330, and if I'm not mistaken, this may actually be their first three-head machine ever. So I'm kind of excited to see how it goes, but reason we're getting into this now is because I already had the belts out, because it takes the same belt for this deck as that Yamaha KX800, so I knew I already had a belt. I knew I already had it out, so it's here. And I've got the idlers in this package here. These were hard to find. There's only one vendor I could find that actually had them, and it's a company called Hurban on eBay. So that's where those are from. Hopefully I don't need them, but if I do, I've got them. Because this uses very unique idlers that are not exactly compatible with the ones used in the DR-M3 or probably the DR-F8 as well. And when it comes to the DR-F8, that'll be later this year. I don't know when. But you'll notice I actually have another one of these magazines here, and there's a good reason for that. Not only does this magazine have this model specifically in here as test reports, it's also got, see if I can find it here. Let's see. There's an Orex machine. I should really buckle down and try to get one of those. Anyhow, let's see. Hard to do this one-handed, the way they've got this magazine formatted. But there's the DR-F3 right there. You can kind of see it there. But that's not all it's got. It's got... come on, settle down, magazine. It's got the CT970 in it as well. Full set of test reports. I had to have this. And that's not all. There's the JVC Double D7 right there. So, yeah, that's another machine we're going to have to get into real soon here. But I actually had this shipped out with the TCK 222 ESJ, so we need to get into this deck. And I don't think I've even had this powered up, so we should find out and see what it does. I have had this deck open, and the belt is gone on this one, so it's not going to do much of anything, but we'll just see what it all does in its present state. How's about that? Power is applied. Okay, let's hit power and see what happens. Okay, we got lights in both wells. That's good. I think I have actual replacements for these types of lamps now, but clearly this one doesn't need those lamps. Looks like source and tape switching is working. This probably will need a belt. Timer start, Dolby, MPX filter, fine bias. This is not an auto-calibrating deck like the newer Denons I've got. Support for all 4 tape types. I've got an output level control. Very nice. And the capstan motor is working. I can hear it, but it's not going to be doing anything in here because the belt is gone. Let's see, how are the heads? Actually quite nice. I think this is going to be a nice tape deck once I get it going. And that's the other reason why I want to get this going, is I've started making a list of all my top of the line or near top of the line tape decks that I plan to use for vaporwave recordings, and there's now 9 of them that have never made any vaporwave tapes yet. So yes, my obsession here is kind of out of control lately, but oh, I wanted to test the reel drive in this. Give me a second here. We'll just grab a tape here and see if it does anything. This is how we're going to know if the idlers are any good in this. There's 3 of them. There's 1 on each reel table, and then there's the reel drive idler. So let's see what happens here. Okay, maybe I don't have to replace those. We'll find out when we get in there, but obviously play is not working. And there's no shut off either. And I'm noticing these buttons are a little bit hard to push. They kind of need cleaning. I don't understand. Oh, there it goes. It finally shut off on that one. Okay, so might be some issues with the auto shut-off circuit, whatever it looks like in this deck. Okay, off comes the cover. And it's very clean in here, so this deck seems to have been at least placed in a fairly decent environment. Oh, look at this! We've got another one of these coreless reel drive motors. Just like the CT970. Huh, interesting. Look at all these old, looks like Matsushita power resistors. That's kind of cool. Very interesting the way this is built. And this is a belt drive quartz lock setup in this deck. And I can actually see the quartz crystal right here. It's just right there. So interesting the way they've got it. It's kind of a traditional capstan motor, but there's going to be an FG coil somewhere in the front part of it to give the feedback for the PLL circuit to lock in the correct speed on this deck. So not just any capstan motor will swap into this. Well, maybe it could be done, but it would require some modification. So this looks like a fairly chunky tape deck here, so suppose we should probably get started on it, shouldn't we? But before I do this, I really, really desperately want to clean the cover on it, so it at least looks almost as good as the faceplate does on this machine. So let's do that, shall we? I'll just get it up here. And I'll try to do this one-handed. And I'm just going to spray it down with simple green. We'll see if this works. And there's quite a bit of residue on this, so we're going to have to let this sit a while to try and pull some of the excess grunge off, and then we'll see if we can wipe it down and see how it looks. Okay, so did I give her enough time? Probably not. Let's grab us a paper towel here and see if any of this comes off. And I gotta put you down for this. No, I didn't give it quite enough time, but it is taking a lot of filth off already. So I'm probably going to have to go over this a couple times with a simple green in order to get it fully clean, but it's cleaning up. I don't think it's going to take much. We've got a couple of scratches here, I think. Yeah, those are scratches. I won't be able to get those out, but that's okay. Okay, so the cover is pretty much as good as I can get it. I did manage to reduce these black markings on top a little bit by using acetone, which you got to be careful with because it'll strip the paint off too if you're not careful, but I managed to get a lot of this garbage off the top of this thing, so it looks 1,000 times better. This is still a scratch here, and this might be a scratch there. I might hit that a little bit more with the acetone and see if I can get more of that out, but I can catch my fingernail in this one, so that's a scratch. All in all, looks a lot better than it did. So let's see if we can figure out how to get this transport out now, shall we? This being a deck from 1980, I'm expecting this is probably going to be a little tricky. So the question is, how tricky is it going to be? See if I can put you down here where you can see a little better. Okay, this has to be freed up, apparently. Disconnect this. Fortunately, I got it unplugged. Now, what about the head wires? Do they plug in, or am I going to have to desolder something? Oh, it looks like the counterbelt is still here. Das ist gut. You can see it right there. So I'm just going to disconnect that. Or wait, what the heck? They've got it wrapped around the wires here. How did they do that? I'm guessing I'm going to have to cut this zip tie right here in order to get this dealt with. Or maybe not. How did they install this belt? I think we're just going to have to pull this little board off in order to do this. This is one of those push type thingies that lock circuit boards in place. Yes, I got the pin out anyway. So this will be the sensor for tape movement detection. If I can just get this little board out of here. Ah, here it comes. There it is. There's the Hall IC right there. Just a little transistor, it looks like. And this will clip just right back in. Okay, so that's how you service the counterbelt on this, is you got to take this little board off first. Okay, now head wires. Please tell me they just plug in. And that looks to be the case. I'll show you what I'm currently poking around in. Okay, we've got the yellow and red wires on one connector. That's this one down here. See if I can show you a little better. It's this one. And then we've got the black set of wires on this connector here. I'm not sure if we're doing the record or play head wires at this point, but... oh, that's erase head, never mind. And the other one I was doing is record head, so that's a 3-pin connector for erase, 4-pin for recording heads, and where's the play heads go? Must be these wires here. Ah, yes, it looks like they run over here to a pair of 2-pin connectors. I don't think this deck has ever been serviced before. I love it when I find them in that kind of shape, because there's no wondering what the previous monkey did when he was servicing on a deck like this. Because sometimes the previous monkeys break something that you don't want broken. Okay, this orange wire goes to the one on the far side of the deck. So that is the right channel. So the white one is the left channel. So transport should be all freed up now, at least electrically. We've got to figure out how it mounts now, and I'm already seeing screws that come in from the front panel, from behind the front panel, I mean. So we got to take the front panel off. Beautiful. But that's easy enough. Just give me some time and I'll get this thing off and we'll see what we can see. Nice beefy transport on this thing, it looks like. Hopefully I can do it justice. And I love that there's a minimal amount of plastic in this deck. Even the DR-F3 seems like it has a lot of plastic in the front panel. Not this one. This one's all metal. Well, mostly metal. Is this loose? No, it doesn't seem to be. Never mind. So I'll take my transport screws and put them up out of the way. I have a good memory, so I'm not worried about losing them. And yes, there are screws in the bottom of the transport. So I'm going to flip it up like this, and we'll just go find them. And I found them. There's one right there and one right there. Let me get them out and we'll resume later. Okay, I think we're ready to pull the transport now. See if we can work it backwards. It's kind of restricted back here with what you can do, it looks like. I'm going to try to do it without taking off too many more zip ties. See if we can get these wires out of the way. Oh, it's tight, but I think it's coming. I just lost the eject linkage, but we'll find it again. Okay, transport's out, and I see melted belt. I don't know if you see it, but you surely see it now. Right there. Well, folks, I think we're going to be dealing with one of the worst cases of old belt goo that I've ever seen. This is Iowa levels of crap in here. I had to really go over this side of the enclosure just to get the all the crap off, and I didn't even get all of it off. There's some hardened fossilized belt goo there that didn't respond to acetone, so I'm thinking this is one for the WD-40, and I don't have it out right now, so let me go get it. Water displacer number 40, and we're going to just try and get this belt goo cleaned up. I'm going to need a paper towel first. We do not want to get WD-40 anywhere but on this flywheel, so I'm just going to go like this. And go like that. Then we'll just start scraping her off, if we can. Possibly be better to wait for this until the flywheel's out, but this stuff is really, really nasty, so I would rather get as much off from here as I can. I'm just using my thumbnail to sort of scrape it right now. And it's coming. It's just going to take a few passes, I think, to fully get this garbage off here. And it's resisting the WD-40. That's how you know when something's really bad, but I don't think it's quite as bad as the CT970 was yet. The 970, I don't know what that belt was made of, but it just ate the flywheel away when it decomposed. I'm just going to grab an out and I can't talk today. Sorry, guys. An acetone-soaked Q-tip, and I'll just clean the capstan where the belt was, or where the tape rides, because it was filthy there. And I don't want to pull that stuff through the capstan bushing. Now this model uses a back tension pin setup for back tension. This is it right here. So it'll be interesting to see how that works with the linkage once this is done. Looks like it just comes up like this. Head block is moving well, so don't think there's too much extra grease I need to add there. In fact, I don't think I'll even be pulling this off. Pinch roller's moving well too. Good! This deck's in good shape. We'll get her fixed. I've already put my fingers in some more belt goo. Perfect. And I like this capstan motor we got back here. It's one of these types that has the transistor on the outside. So that's basically probably one of the better motors we're going to find in a deck like this. Aside from a direct drive BSL motor, that is. But this one doesn't have a motor like that. It's got this type of motor. Should be just fine. I hope I can get in there to lube it, but we'll see later. Let's see, how do I get the finger off so I can get the flywheel out? Oh, before I do that, let's do the one thing I keep forgetting to do on every other tape deck job and pull the oil control washer off the front of the capstan first. I'm always forgetting that. I don't know why. My memory is literally good enough to tell you what my bedroom looked like when I was 6 months old, and yet I still can't remember to pull the oil control washer off. We'll just grab the beauty plate off this first before I do that. This way we can get a look at the weird idler setup in this thing. Maybe get some ideas as to whether or not they will actually need replacing, but it doesn't seem like they do in this one. At least from what we could see from testing. Oh, we've got 2 more screws on this. I didn't want to bend the beauty plate, but it looks like I might have actually done that. I'll straighten it. These other 2 screws are a little bit of a pain. The other 2 beauty plate screws are right here and right over yonder. So take note of that if you want to service this transport. And we'll just grab the counter belt now. I think I'm going to replace this. It's a 0.7. I can tell you that now. 0.6 in fact, so my 0.7s will be fine with this. Well, maybe it's... No, it's 0.7 for sure. Oh, and yes, we should check the internal circumference. $121.5 multiplied by 2, that's 243. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be that stretched, but yeah, I'm going to put a new one on. So the idlers in question are not up here. They're back behind here. So I don't think we're going to access those until the flywheel comes out. So, not sure what type of a lamp we've got here for lighting up the cassette well, but it apparently does work in this model, so I'm not going to worry about that. I just want to check how these solenoids attach here, because they're going to have to come off with the capstan plate, or flywheel plate. At least I do believe so. I'm also needing to check how the damper attaches on this. Feels pretty dry in there, but this damper wasn't having any major issues, so not sure if it really needs to be serviced. So I'm going to put it back together just like this, and I'll set it to the side, I think. Now, what do I need to do in order to get the thinger off? Looks like I have to dismount this circuit board, and I'm going to be recapping this as well. Might as well while I'm in here, because a couple of these screws that hold the this plate on cannot be accessed with the circuit board in place, apparently. Okay, those 3 screws are out, and this should just flip out of the way. There's no solenoids to mount on, or that mount on this area, so don't have to worry about them coming off. Okay, now this screw here, at least, has to come off. See if you can see it. And there will be others. Where are they? Oh boy. This is getting complicated already, because it looks like this whole side plate has to come off in order to get the capstan flywheel plate off. I'm not sure about this. Let me study this for a while and see what I got to do to free things up. Okay, folks, this deck has in fact been serviced before. Reason I know is because this screw here has been a little bit stripped out. We're going to have to remove this in order to get the this side panel off here, I think, in order to get the flywheel mounting plate off. So a little bit of a disassembly involved to this. I don't know if I actually have to take the tape door off or not, but it's looking like it's heading that direction. So okay, that arm is freed up now. Have to disconnect a spring, like so, and then we'll pull the arm out from behind, I think, and lose the little brass doohickey for it. But not really, because I got it. It's right there. I'll just put this all off to the side with the door damper. Okay, and that's loose now, and we can probably pull this off now. And I've already taken pictures of these 2 micro switches just to make sure they go back in properly. And it's basically all there is to that. But let me put this little screw back into the cassette door so I don't lose it. It would be bad to lose this one, because I'll never get the deck back together if I don't have it. So let's see here. This screw right here, and this screw right here, I think. And yes, now we have access to the screws for this. Well, 2 of them. There's probably more in places that I don't want to think about, but we'll deal with that when we have to. These are all the same type of screws here, all 4 of these. So I'll just set that back in place if I can, and come around to the other side. And we'll get these 2 screws off here, and you can't see them. These 2 have to come off. And we've got a pair of terminals here. One looks to be a ground wire. Yes, and one is a clamp for the wires. So those 4 are done. Should be just that one other screw, and we can then pull the plate off. Oh, and this plate comes off now too. Okay. That's fine, as long as I remember how to put it back on. Major disassembly to get this thing apart, it looks like. So, do I just have the one screw here? I think so. I don't see any others. Okay, got that screw out. And this is a different type of screw than the ones we just took out for the end plates. So where am I going to put this one where I can remember it? I'll put it inside the counter belt. That's how I will remember that, I think. Now, let's see. How difficult is this going to be? Probably very. Just having a look. Oh, there's one more screw to take out. It is that one down in there. I don't know if you can see it. Right there. That one's tight. Oh no, wait, that does not have to come out. My brain lied to me. Tried to make me do something I would regret later. Oh, there is one more screw though. It's this one right here. What's it doing there? I don't know. Except making my life more of a pain. Real tight access to that screw. Real tight. You need a thin shank screwdriver to get to that one. And it's a bit longer than the other one was. So I will try to remember that. Okay, this is ready to come up now. Finally. See if I can get everything to release. The solenoid mechanisms don't want to let go for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, I see why. There's another little linkage here. Right yonder. That sort of traps the linkage in there. So what we're going to have to do is release the solenoids from these pins down here. I don't know if you can see them. Come on, camera gimbal, let me show the people. Right down here. So we're going to have to pull these out to the side, it looks like, and that will release everything. Yes, sir. We'll just go over like this. And now we've got access, finally, to what's in here. So this will come out now. Did I ever pull that oil keeper out? No, I didn't. I told you, I keep forgetting. I don't know why, but it's on the bench right now, so if I could just pick it up with my fingers here, or a pair of tweezers, I'll put it down on the flywheel, and I will set this aside. Just taking a look at the grease down in here before I get further into this thing. It is a little not good anymore. Am I going to work on that in place, or am I going to try to pull linkages apart? I don't know. I'll figure that out as time goes by. Yeah, this might have to be done in place by squirting some iso alcohol through there and just injecting new grease. I think that's the way that's going to have to go. But let me grab my syringe of rotary screw compressor oil. And I will already start getting some new oil into the capstan bushings. Front and back. It looks extremely dry in front. So I might have to do that a couple times. We'll see. Okay, so shall we get a look at our real drive idlers here? Let's see. I'm going to want the big screwdriver for this, it looks like. Okay, does this just come off now? Yes. Okay, here's our idlers. They feel sticky, so I think they're possibly on their way out. At least on this reel table, they do. How about the main idler? And I'll warn you right now, these are T-shaped idlers, so they're not very common. I don't like how sticky they feel. That means they're going out. Oh yes, they're expiring as we speak. They're melting and turning into belt goo, or turning into goo. So we are going to have to service those. They need lubrication as well, the reel tables, so we're going to have to do that. So, let's see, why don't we actually start there? But first, let me get the belt goo off this spindle here. Let's see, where's my iso alcohol? I have a feeling that acetone is going to melt that post if I try it. So it's going to have to be iso alcohol. This just feels like the type of plastic that will absolutely have a problem with acetone. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't realize my bottle of stuff was in your way. Okay, yes, that was just clipped on and rolled off somewhere underneath the mechanism. But I found it. And now we've got a little E-clip to get off this thing. See if I can do that without making it go flying. All right, one clip is out. I will do each side separately. Off it comes. Just about lost a little washer here. This one goes on top of this, apparently. Set that out of the way. Just taking a look at the assembly here. I don't see any felt clutches or anything we need to worry about, but this idler is dead and it will have to be replaced. So, see if I can get it out. Or get it off. Yes, see? It's T-shaped. That's why this model is kind of difficult to service. But thankfully I've got the Van Hurban kit with me. So I don't know if it's actually got T-shaped idlers, but it has some that should work. Want a nice clean surface for new idler. So yes, even though this deck worked as it was, it probably would not have worked long if I just left this alone. So it's a good thing I found these idlers to service this. Anyhow, I need a pipe cleaner so I can clean out the inside of the spindle on this thing. We'll just run this through. This is just iso alcohol. I don't like putting acetone in places where it might screw something up, so alcohol only there. Okay, let's Oh, before we do anything else, let me take my alcohol moistened Q-tip and we'll clean this shaft here, because we're going to need to put new grease here. And I see another oil or another washer coming off with this little thrust spring here, so try not to lose that. I'll just let the Q-tip hold on to it for a second here. While I put that down out of the way, I'll put the washer down next to the other washer that apparently goes on top of that. We've got a spring, and I'll clean some more. And I hope these Van Hurban parts are good, because that is literally the only place in the world I found parts for this. Okay, so I'm going to put that spring back on, and this thingamadoodle. There are slots in the plate. I'll show you in a second. There are locator slots, I mean, for this, for the arms on this. Right there. That's how this goes. Can't really do it one-handed, so let me continue on with this, and we'll break out the Van Hurban parts now, and we'll see if the new idler works on this. I hope it does, because otherwise, if it doesn't, we got a problem. A big one. 3 very thick O-rings, it looks like. The thin one will be for the reel drive idler, and then the thick ones will be for the reel tables. I'll just try to compare them. Here's the old idler, as nasty as it is. It's a little smaller, the new one. So before I take off this idler, I want to measure that for you, if I can. But the new one is 20.1 millimeters outer diameter, about 14 inner diameter by 5 millimeters. That's a chunky boy. So let's see how this works. Okay, folks, I got it on, but I don't like this. I don't like anything about this. It's not riding properly. It's not staying in place. It is just not the right tool for the job. I do need to find an O-ring for this, because this is not going to work otherwise. I just don't think anything. So I don't know if they mean to have you grind away the surface here so this will go on properly, but this is not working very well. So I think this probably will. I'm not sure about the quality of the rubber yet, but let me see if I can find an O-ring that'll work on here. But we'll do some measurements first. So maybe with you guys with rubber factories out here can start planning a replacement for this, because this is just not very good here, these idlers. And I don't know what happened to my other idler. Just went missing on me. Oh, there it is. Okay, so what do we got here? The interior side, where the T is 16.8 millimeters. And the height of the groove is about 2.8, maybe 2.5. We'll call it 2.5 just to be safe. And then, yeah, the exterior diameter would be the old idler tire. So we're going to measure from this one. 21.9, 22. So let me see if I can find an O-ring that'll work better than my new idlers, and we'll see what happens. Okay, guys, my O-ring kit came to the rescue on this one. The one I found is, oh, let me see, where did I find that? Well, let me measure it for you, and I'll tell you what I'm using here. I got two of them. These are 3.3 millimeters by 21. And when stretched out onto the surface here, they are 23.1. That's a little big, so what I'm going to do real quick is try to get this back on the shaft here, and we'll see if it manages to work. Well, maybe this won't work because the idler wants to come in and contact the surface behind the O-ring. So the O-rings might work and they might not work. I'm not sure. I mean the O-rings from the kit, not the Van Hurban ones. I think if I use these Van Hurban ones, I'm going to have to leave them so that they're kind of pushed outwards at the bottom, because otherwise I can't seat them properly. I don't know. Let me investigate and I'll figure something out here. Okay, folks, I'm starting to think that maybe the Van Hurban folks sent me the wrong kit or something like that, because the new idler itself is not going to work. It's too thick. I don't know what's going on here. It'll go on. Sorry about that, but it's the same story as the ones for the real hubs. It doesn't go on properly. It goes on at an angle, like so. So I don't know what the heck I'm going to do here. Put that somewhere I can remember where it goes. The good news is I think I can make these work, but it's not going to be a pretty fix at all. Because what I'm going to have to do is I'm either going to have to grind this raised part off of the spindle right here, or I'm going to have to grind this one, or this tire down, so it fits on. I don't know if I can do that with any type of precision whatsoever. So, what is clear to me is that the new idler is not going to replace the old one on this side, so I'm going to have to try and figure something out there as well, but what a nightmare. So, yeah, I just hope this deck works once I get it done, because I just don't know at this point. Okay, folks, I think I've got a working solution here. It is not ideal in the slightest, but it is the only option I've got open to me. The new idler that is on here now is one of these. It's an SB111 from Marco Rubber. It's the same O-ring I used on both of the idlers of the Technics RSM 275X, and it had to be significantly stretched to go on there, but it's on there. The thickness of this O-ring is the right thickness to do the job, I'm finding. I'll show you in a minute here how well it works, but the new real idler is actually the same type of O-ring that Van Hurban sent me for the idler in the middle. So basically what it is, it's a 13 by 20 by 3 millimeter designed for Nakamichi idlers. So basically what I do whenever I order something from Fix Your Audio is I order duplicates, and that's what I did in this case with the NAC idler. So that idler is now around here, and I'm finding it, like I said, it is the exact same size as the idler from Van Hurban that was supposed to go in the center here. So this idler will now go on the supply side, and I'm just going to keep this the way it is right now. I'll show you how well it works. So let me pick this up, and I'll turn on my bench power supply. You can see it's currently driving the take-up side. And when I grab onto this, There's lots of torque here, but I cannot stop the reel motor. This is going to have to do the job. I'm sorry, there's no other way to get this to work that I can find. The new Van Hurban idlers, I'm just not going to use them. I'm going to chuck them back in the bag, and I'm going to put them in the in storage for possibly whenever I can find a use for these. Because in order to make these work for the reel tables, I would have to grind them down to basically install them properly, like I said. Either that or grind the hubs down, and I don't want to grind the hubs down at all. I would like to implement a solution that involves as minimal destruction as possible here. In order for me to machine these down to work would require tooling I don't have, so anyhow, basically what I've got going now is the only working solution I can figure out that's going to hold up over a reasonable long-term period. I think I should probably try to find better idlers than the SB111s I used here, but it's basically all I've got open to me. And I'll show you the clutch on this. It's not the same type of clutch as we usually find in an idler. It's basically a piece of felt that is spring-loaded and goes down in here. So you have to use the correct idler for this. It's no other option. But the SB111s do work if you can get them on there. It's extremely stretched. So I haven't done this one yet. I'll do that off camera next. And basically this is the only solution I can figure out for this whole setup. But I'm sorry to say, Van Hurban, that this is not a good solution for these decks. You have to come at me with a better solution than this. And before I get into this, I want to measure the old center idler so you know what is being used in here. This one is about 20 millimeters, maybe 20.3, 20.5. Internal is 14.9-ish or so. And the thickness is 1.7, 1.8, but the O-ring I'm using in there is a 2 millimeter thickness, so a 2 millimeter will work. But I can't reuse the old idler because it's gone as well. It's rock hard, almost. Could have possibly brought it around, but no. This is the only thing I can do to get this deck to work properly again. So I'm going to use the Fix Your Audio idler on the take-up side, and I'm going to use the Van Hurban idler on the supply side, because I think it's probably going to be better if I have the better of the two idlers over here. The Van Hurban idler is not quite as good quality as the Fix Your Audio stuff, so that's what I'm going to do there. And these O-rings will go back in the package, because they will not work. Period. They're just too thick. Okay, I got the whole reel drive dumpster fire settled, I think, as best I can, so let's move on with this. And yes, I know one of the reel motor wires came off. I've marked the motor in case the other one comes off, so I can put everything back together. But I think we're going to have to do a lot involved with these, or a lot with these linkages here, because all of this stuff is going to be needing re-greasing. So I'm going to pull the E-clip off that. I think maybe we'll start with this arm here. I don't know if this is going to be very easy at all, because this is one of these awful clips that like to break on you, and I don't know if I can get this one off very easily, but if it's not in a groove, I can get it off. If it's in a groove, then it's not coming off. The problem is you've got these four little tabs on the inside of this thing, and you have to find a way to get something under there to loosen those tabs up. Otherwise, you cannot get these things off. So if I can't find a way to grease this, which is looking extremely likely at this moment, I'm just going to have to dribble oil in there, I think, because that is not going to cooperate. This little black clip here I do not have replacements for those clips, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my syringe and work some oil down in here. We'll just reconstitute the old grease that way. Fortunately, it's still moving fairly freely, so we don't have to worry too much about it, but this is very inhospitable to actual service, this deck. I will have to tell you. Just does not want to go easy, any part of it. So if you're thinking about maybe buying one of these decks, maybe think twice. Denon idlers are already impossible to find. And this has gone beyond impossible to... well, I don't know if there is anything actually beyond impossible. So this area I can re-grease. That's not going to be a problem. But when it comes to the rest of this, there's all kinds of linkages that don't look like they're going to move very well when it comes to taking them off, because a lot of these are just riveted in place. And what do you really do about that? Well, what I'm going to do about that is I'm going to wipe as much of the old grease as possible, and I will just try to inject new grease, like I said earlier. That is the only way I can see forward on this particular transport. Well, I don't know, this arm will come off. Okay, that's done, and I'll try to get some under where that black clip is too. Doing the best we can here, that's all we can do. Just getting it in where I can get it will help, I think. Even though this deck really wasn't that bad for lube. Okay, and then like I said, this arm will come off, so we might as well actually try to take that one off and do something with it. Well, folks, I think I've got about as much greasing as I can possibly grease under here. I did find that E-clip again, but not before I went ahead and installed a new one. It was sitting right down in there for some reason. Anyhow, before I put this back in, I just wanted to mention that there is a little pin on this part of the deck right here that supposedly goes underneath there, I do believe. So make note of that when you're reinstalling this. Otherwise it won't go back down properly. At least I don't think it will. Trying to do this one-handed. Yeah, I think that's how it goes. Watch me be wrong and find out the hard way. Anyhow, I'm going to put this back together and we'll get started on the capstan motor. Okay, capstan motor time. And I want to get rid of a zip tie here before I even start with this, so we can free up the wires. There are 4 of them. Or rather, I guess there are 3 of them. There's this white wire. This will go down to the FG coil, I'm sure. It attaches to the quartz lock board. Let's just call it that, for want of a better word. And then there's the 2 traditional wires here, positive and negative, for the motor itself. So that's how that works. It's a Sankyo motor, apparently. But it wouldn't be too surprising to find out it's actually a Matsushita motor, because it seems to me that this is how all their motors look. Well, all the really good ones with the transistor outside. Okay, motor is free, and there's a lot of old belt wrapped around the pulley we're going to have to clean up. Won't that be fun? So I've already taken pictures, not made pictures, to see where all these wires go. I just have to desolder them now so I can get this motor out. And it says that there's an adjustment here for speed, but no, it's FG servo, so don't be poking your screwdriver in there is what I'm saying. And I just want to get access to this to lube the bearings inside if I can. Probably not the easiest thing in the world, but first off we got to get all this old belt goo off this. Oh, it is just turned back into oil is basically what it has. Okay, can I pull the pulley off now? There is a set screw on this pulley, so you have to keep that in mind. See if I can find a driver of screws that'll be small enough to take it off. Yes, indeed. And I should have got my feeler gauges out so I can put that back where it's supposed to be afterwards. Okay, right about there ought to do it. Okay, now can we get this motor apart? Good question. We're going to have to take this screw out, I'm sure. Of course, that's the wrong size. Why wouldn't it be the wrong size? And hopefully I can actually get this motor apart. If it's anything like that Pioneer CTF 900 motor, I'm only going to be able to get it apart so far before it fights me and decides it doesn't want to come apart any further. Okay, yeah, there's the FG coil right there. So I don't know if I'm even going to get this apart far enough to lubricate any bushings. And there's the controller right there. That looks like it might be a connector here. At the very least, I would like to change the capacitors in here, but I don't know if I can. Especially if this rubber insulator won't come up without disintegrating. But fortunately, it looks like I've managed to pull it back. So you can see here that there is no potentiometer for speed adjustment. Maybe I actually can do something with it. At least in the way of getting into here to replace capacitors. There's two of them, electrolytics, that I can see. I don't think I'm going to be able to replace one of them because it's incredibly small. Well, we've already come this far, maybe. Let's risk breaking the deck altogether, shall we? Okay, we're going to need to desolder the four connections down to the motor here. I'm not going to heat the gun up for this because I don't want to risk damage here. That's two of them. Probably have to go over them again. And these two have to be done. I don't think we're going to get access to the rear bearing to lube that. It's just not possible that I can see. I don't want to tangle with that FG coil really at all. So you'll have to forgive me if I don't go that far. Okay. I managed to do that successfully, I think. Let's just check to be sure that the FG coil is still good. Because this is something I'm not sure about right now. I don't know if you can see this at all. .346 ohms, we're good. I didn't break something today. But there's still plenty of time. And off that comes. So here's the motor itself. You can see which things do what, and I'm hoping I'm keeping track of how this goes back together, because these are polar opposites to one another, so I may have to consult my footage now, because I don't know if I got that right. I think I did, though. Oh well, I can clearly see which one is the FG coil, so if I have to consult my footage, I can. So what have we got here for capacitors? We'll get this insulator off as well. Okay, so this one, 25 volts, 4.7 microfarads. And the orange one is a Sanyo. I don't know if that's 1 microfarads or what. I just cannot see this. Maybe you guys can if I zoom in. Let me get the tweezers here and we'll see how good these caps are. I realize you can't see the display on this, so you'll have to forgive me. Well, maybe I can zoom out so you can. Okay. The little orange one, 108 nanofarads, 88 ohms ESR. And then the big one, .6 microfarads, 2.5 ohms. They're both probably good. Oh, and there's a tantalum too. Of course there is. It's another one I can't see the markings on. We'll check it as well. We'll have to do it from this side. .103 nanofarads, 50 ohms ESR. So that's a 1 microfarad part, I think. Believe it or not, I've actually got tantalums in that size. Trying to give you a look at it here. Oh no, it's 0.1. Actually, I do have that size. But if this is 0.1, this other capacitor, and it measures the same, I probably don't have that one. Yeah, I might have to just leave this the way it is. I've got the tantalum. I could probably put 2 tantalums in it instead of the orange one and the one that's got in there, but I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to replace the this one here. I think I've got that one. The problem is space in here is really tight. I got a new capacitometer in. It is a Panasonic FR 105 degree, so hopefully it likes this. And I'm still on the fence about replacing the orange and the tantalum, but the tantalum's still going to be good. They usually don't go bad, and if they do, they fail shorted, so welcome to big problems if that ever happens, but I don't know, I could put another tantalum in here and replace the orange one as well, but I think I'm just going to leave those two and hope for the best on that one. But everything went in fine, and I just cannot tell you guys how much I missed this stuff. This is my Alpha Telecore Plus solder I just got in. Got a whole pound of it, so it's going to last forever, and it's 63 SN37 PB, so it is leaded solder, so good stuff there. Oh, it just flows so much better than the Chip Quick stuff I've been using. So I guess we'll put this back together now and hope everything's good with this, because if everything's not good with this, then I don't know. But I'll give you a look at the controller chip here real quick so you can see what it uses. M5172BL is what's in here. So I gotta resolder this, and hopefully everything's good at the gravy farm. Okay, so the motor is back together, and we are going to have to lube the front bearings now, if I can find my oil syringe. Just found my oil syringe, and we're going to use the same compressor oil that I've been using all this time. And I'll just work the motor manually, because we can't really power this one up on the bench power supply, I don't think. I don't know what would happen if I tried that, so... wipe up the excess oil, and we can start putting things back together. Have I gotten this clean enough, though? I don't think I have, so I'm going to clean this a little more, and then we'll keep going, I guess. Okay, folks, as you can see, the motor's back in, and this has been resoldered. Hope it stays that way this time, but the camera battery actually died on me before I could do any more shooting with you on camera, so I figured I'd take the time and come over here and start polishing this flywheel, because it actually did need to be polished, and it still needs to be polished. This is equally, or actually maybe even worse than the Pioneer CT970 at this point, because it really has etched its way into the flywheel on this one. I'll get it, it's just going to take a long time, and I'm actually using liquid autosol for this job. I actually picked this stuff up to do the case of the CT970, and figured maybe it would work better than the paste for this application, and that's the way it's turning out. So it's taking a heck of a long time, though, so once I get this done, I'll probably throw it back in the transport, maybe off camera even, and then recap the control board there, and I don't know, maybe pick up with you when we get to the front of the transport. I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I gotta keep going with this, because it is taking hours to do this. Just like the CT970, so let me get going so I can get finished. Okay, folks, as you can see, the transport is back together, and we're getting to get started here on the front of the transport. Looks like all I really have to do up front here is to service the capstan, but that's fine. I think we're about at the end of this, actually, but who knows? It might fight me some more, and I might have to do more things, but we'll figure that out as we go along here. Everything up front here seems to be fairly well lubed, so one thing I want to make sure I mention is that I have decided to go ahead and buy a whole lot of clips. Like, I've got Starlock washers now that are coming for that black weird cross-shaped lock washer that was on there that I couldn't get off without risking breaking it. And I've got a bunch of those teeny tiny little circlips that go onto a Nakamichi Classic transports, as well as an $80 set of pliers in order to install those properly. So this is the very last time I'm willing to let a cassette deck like this stop me in my tracks, because I don't have a way to get these blasted fasteners off, or get them off without breaking something. So I've decided to just go ahead and remove all that stuff from the equation, and that's basically all there is to it. The next time I get inside this deck, I will have all the washers and lock washers and all the weird fasteners I need to in order to fully lubricate this transport, because it really does need it. I just couldn't do it, is all, because of the way those washers are. Sometimes you break them, and then what happens if you break them? So that's that. Anyhow, you'll notice that the capstan belt is now on. I had no trouble with that. I want to point out that there is a white post under here. That one down there that had the old belt goo stuck to it. And that is simply there so you can hook the capstan belt around it while you put the back of this thing back together. And then you just hook onto the capstan belt and just put it in place there. But one other thing I need to mention is this flywheel is permanently damaged now. Basically what happened is the old belt went hygroscopic, it retained moisture, and it just etched its way into the flywheel, and I was not able to polish that out this time. I was able to with the CT970, and I'm thankful for that, but this one was too far gone. So this deck really needs a new flywheel, because this will never be as good as it used to be back in the day or whatnot. So I did my best with it, but we'll just have to see whether it's any good after this. But what I can tell you is I have had this hooked up back to the machine. I have had it running, and the transport does seem to be working fantastically. So we'll have to see, though, because I'm not sure about the take-up torque yet. We'll get the torque cassette out and check that. Also, before we get started on the front, I have been doing some recapping. All these power supply parts have been done. These are all Panasonic FR, every last one of them. I decided to go with the similar values, so I got a bunch of smaller 1000 microfarad parts replacing some big ones. Kind of look weird in there, but that's progress for you. Capacitors these days aren't quite so big as they used to be, and I did like 3 of them in here as well. There's one right back in there, you can see. That's a Panasonic FM, I think. And that should be good for that. None of the capacitors were tested bad, so... The thing is, I just would rather have 45-year-old capacitors changed out when it comes to the power supply in these things. I don't want to risk it, so... let us get into the front of this. Like I said, not much to go with this, but there's some. Okay, we're going to want to take the door off, so I'm going to take this screw back out. Thankfully, I think you can do all of this from right here. I don't think you need to do anything too special. There are 4 screws holding the door on. 2 on each side, and I'm just going to go ahead and take those out. And while we're taking screws out, I happened to notice that From Japan was doing the usual Mercari discount, except they were doing 10% off this time. So that other special deck I've got coming in now, I decided to get the remote for it. So that's adding up to a major cost on my part, but not quite so bad because it was 10% off. Plus I had a stacking discount from Japan. Or from Japan, I should say. I had maybe $1.60 off there. And that whole video will be sort of a tutorial on how to use From Japan to buy tape decks and stuff. But that's still in progress. I don't know when that deck will even get here. I may have it fast-tracked, I may not have it fast-tracked, because it's kind of a heavy one, this one. Extremely rare, though, so I can't wait to get it. Okay, door is off. It looks like it attaches with these pins, actually, so I think we only needed to take off one side of those, so I'm going to put 2 screws back in. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning, so my brain is kind of flaky again, like it usually is, but whatever. Okay, I'll put that hinge to the side along with the door, and now we can get the pinch roller out, maybe. It goes all the way through back into the linkage back here. Comes right back in right there, so... have to remember that. Doesn't look too hard, though, on this particular deck. Just got another one of these little Jesus clips that go flying, and then you say, Jesus! Please find my clip for me. So far, I haven't lost any from this deck, but it's been close. Okay, that clips off, and now we can pull the pinch roller. And I'm taking a look at it. This might be salvageable, I think. But we got to be careful because there's this little spring on the pinch roller assembly that we do not want to lose. So let me just figure out whether or not I can easily get this apart so I can get the pinch roller out. Oh yes, I think it can be done fairly easily. We'll just go like this is all. Then I'll just pound the clip, or pound the pin out from below. I think that's probably going to be where the friction fit is, not on the top side. Sometimes they are on the top side, and it pisses me off when they do that, but okay, let's get this done. I don't have my soap and water set up yet, so I might go off camera with that part. Okay, punches are out, and let's see, I need something to act as an anvil. Pin is out. Where did it go? It's got to be here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Rolled off on me. So I'm taking a look at this. It looks like it's got a... is that a sintered bushing in there? Because if it is, we got to use oil and not grease. I can't tell, but it might be actually sintered, so we can try with oil, but I want to go clean this up first, so let me do that and I'll be back. Okay, folks, the roller is done. As you can see here, it turned out pretty good. Actually, very good indeed, but I just wanted to mention something. I decided to try a little bit of a different approach to refurbishing this roller, as I have been doing. You might remember that I recently went to doing a pass or two with rubber renew before going in with the soap and water and brass brush to finish the job, and this time I decided no rubber renew. I decided what I would do instead was cue up your gasps of shock and dismay. I decided to use acetone to clean this because I've seen other techs on YouTube use acetone to clean rubber parts, and it seems to have worked. This is extremely grippy now, so I think it's going to hold up. I don't see any terrible cracking or anything with this roller, so I think it might work. But we need to figure out what to lube this with now, don't we? What I'm going to do first is I'm going to try the ISO 46 compressor oil. Again, like I mentioned last week, this is not air conditioning compressor oil. You don't want to use that kind of stuff in a cassette deck. And I would suggest you don't use motor oil or transmission oil or anything like that either because of the additives that they've got in them. But this stuff is thinner than the Androl stuff that I've been using, so I just don't see any reason to not use it. And in fact, other people that I extremely trust have said that this stuff is fine for cassette decks, so I'm going to keep doing it until I come to regret it, I guess. I should be holding this. Okay, I've got some oil in there. Still don't know if that's a sintered bushing or not. There were no oil control washers on either side of it, so I'm kind of leaning towards not, but it shouldn't hurt anyway. Oh, and by the way, I actually did have this pounded out from the wrong end. I knew that was going to happen somehow. But anyway, see if I can get this to go back in now. It's pushing oil out from the other side. Just got to make sure there's none on the roller. And now I can pound the pin back in. But the acetone really took a lot of old belt goo, or not belt goo, rubber goo and cassette goo. So I think it's going to work well. Yeah, it looks really, really, really good. So happy with that I am. Now, of course, we got to reinstall this. Somehow, in some way, I'm actually borderline thinking I got to take this back out and do this with grease instead of oil, because it doesn't seem like the inside of this took any oil at all, or is absorbing any oil at all. But you know what? I think I'll just leave it. And I'll take my dampened Kim wipe and I'll clean off the pinch roller pivot. And that should be good. We gotta re-grease though. A little bit of the Molykote EM30L. That's really too much, but want to get it all the way around. Can just barely see the little slot that this pin goes into. Down yonder. Okay, moving right along. I think everything's okay with the roller. I'm still not sure about using oil there, but it's in there, and we're going to give it a chance at least. Everything else looks nice and clean here, so not much else I can do but continue on. So we're going to clean the heads now. I'm going to use acetone for this. I'm going to break out the microscope in a second to take a look at the heads, but I may not capture the images from it. We'll see. And one thing we're going to have to do on this particular mechanism is there's a felt pad right under this post right here. And we're going to have to clean that as well. I am not going to use acetone for that one. I'm going to use iso-alcohol. Acetone might dissolve the glue that's holding that little felt pad on, so rather not tangle with it. And there is a little bit of crud on it, so I'll see if I can show you this felt pad here in a second. It's just right under there. It's that little brown thing on that post. So what else do I need to do while I'm here? That arm's moving well, so I don't think I'll do anything with that. I will clean it, because it's part of the tape path. Iso-alcohol, no acetone, because this looks like the kind of stuff that acetone will eat away, and that would be very bad news for this deck. Let's see. Q-tip is still damp, so what can I clean with it while I'm here? I think everything's pretty well as clean as it's going to get on this deck. So it should be ready to go now for full service. But let me just go off camera and I'll take a look with the microscope and see what the heads are like. Okay, so I did capture the pictures of the heads for you, and you've probably seen them on screen by now. I'll probably have put them into the video just before this segment, but I'm not thoroughly happy with the condition of the heads on this deck. It seemed like there was a little bit of chipping going on the record side, and I don't know what that V-shaped doohickey was on the playback side, but we're just going to have to run this deck and see what it sounds like for recording is all. Anyhow, time to pick out a counterbelt, and I've already done this ahead of time. This is one of my 0.7 millimeter belts. Basically, I did the 1.07 rule, where I divided the old belt by 1.07 to get the new belt for internal circumference. And this one, if I can coordinate myself here, is about 112, 113 times 2, so that's 226 about internal circumference. So that's what I'm using there. So all I got to do from here is just put the deck back together and see if it works. Okay, the transport is back in the deck, and we're just going to give her a shot here in a second. I've only got 2 screws holding the transport in right now. By the way, God help you if you ever want to put one of these back in the deck. Really tight fit in there, but one thing I want to mention is I was looking for a good way to clean these buttons back here, but the plastic part of this assembly is melted in back through, well, there's pins that go through the circuit board, and they're melted in place in back, so I didn't do anything with that. I'm hoping it'll come around with use, but everything seems to be set up and possibly working. I've cleaned all of these controls up front here. I didn't clean any of these button switches yet because they're way back in the deck and they may need polishing, but I'm hoping this thing's ready to go because this was a lot of work. So let's fire it up. Okay, we've got signs of life. Is the capstan working? It sure is. So we might actually get some music out of this guy for the first time ever. So, test tape. And we gotta go over to Chrome because that's the biasing on this tape. All right. Stop, rewind, fast forward. Let's try rewind and fast forward first. Get you zoomed in here so you can see it. Rewind works. Fast forward works. Okay, cross your fingers, we're gonna do play. But let me zoom you out so you can see the meters first. It is working. I gotta clean this control again, but it's working. I'm using the queuing feature now. We'll see if that works. No issues with the real drive so far. Okay, queuing feature works. So how's about we see what the take-up torque is like on this. I'm going to go over to source so it doesn't try to play audio. And we'll grab the torque cassette here. And we'll just come in here and we'll see what it reads. All right, what do we get? 60 grams per centimeter over here, 1 gram per centimeter over there. But remember, the back tension on this deck is different from some others. There is a back tension break in here, and you saw it during service, but the The bulk of the back tension is provided by this little arm in here, which my torque cassette cannot measure. So, yes, I'm very happy. It appears that we have fixed another one. So, I think my process from here is going to be... Well, I guess we can check wow and flutter while we're at it. Shall we do that? Let's do that. Okay, folks, before we get to... the wow and flutter check. Can't do any speed calibration because this is quartz locked. But I wanted to mention something. The flywheel thrust bearing on this was really tight. In fact, it was so tight there was no back and forth movement possible at all. You want a little bit, but not too much. Otherwise, the flywheel will go wee, 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 wee. And then you'll get high wow and flutter. But you want some play back there. So I backed off the adjustment a quarter turn, and that seems to have done the trick. So we'll just see how good it is for wow and flutter. But you're going to want to temper your expectations on this one because of the damage to the flywheel on this particular model. Or on this particular example, I should say. Let's see, can we get away with 0.1%? What do you think? Ejecto tape Doro. Double D99 calibration tape is going in. And let's see what we get. It's running. It's making noise for some reason. That's probably the idler setup I've got going on in there, but we're getting quite decent results here. 0.05, I can live with that. Remember, this is not a BSL direct drive tape deck. It's a quartz lock belt drive, so I've never had something like this before. And look at the speed, too. It's almost exactly at 3 kilohertz. So happy about that I am. Let me shut it off here. I'm rewinding a bit. Yeah, it's still making noise. Yes, that is coming from the real drive. I can tell you that immediately. Okay, it's even coming down from there. It's 0.045. Given the damage to the flywheel on this, I can't be upset about this. Not at all. So I'm going to call that a success. Just let me have a look here at the pinch roller. A little concerned there might be some oil on it, but nope, it's dry. All of that noise was indeed the idler system. And what I'm going to have to do is the next time I place an order with Fix Your Audio, I'm going to have to find an idler that works a little better than that stretched out O-ring that I've got in there now, and I'll just have to get back into this deck and fix it, is all. But for now, the deck seems to be good. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off camera, align the azimuth, do a Dolby level calibration if I have to, and then I'll try to get it to do a recording, and then depending how well the recording goes, I don't know, maybe you'll see the recording just like the Yamaha KX800 from last week, or maybe I'll find more issues and we'll have to do more troubleshooting inside the deck. But either way, this video is about over, so let me put the lid on it and we'll play a little more music. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.